Hey everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in to the last episode of the Sage Investor webinar for 2021. We will continue to do these in 2022. So hope you guys continue to join us. So I'm your host, Jin Wang, and I am joined here by one of my partners from the Sage Investing Group, Lana Choi. So for those of you really quickly who don't know us, we are all former Big Four accounting auditors, and we have turned into multifamily syndicators. And our primary mission is really to empower other risk-averse investors, much like us, to help them diversify their portfolio into cash flowing and appreciating assets such as apartments. So if you are interested in learning more about what is it that we do, I encourage you to schedule a call with us on our website at sageinvestinggroup.com. All right, so now let's get started. Today, we are very excited to have Michael Manthei, who is the founder of the Elevate Investing Group, join us as our guest. Michael has become a dear friend to us and a partner of the Sage Investing Group. It's really been an honor and a lot of fun getting to know Michael and his family over the past year. From a vacation, we saw them on vacation together with our mentoring group in Florida, and he partnered with us on a recent deal in Alabama, to taking an all-girls trip with his lovely wife, Kristen, recently to a beautiful garden in Pennsylvania. So it's been, I've really come to know this power couple, and I just love that they are just very thoughtful, very authentic, and very generous people. They just have deep faith and a deep desire to serve others. So I really love being around people like that. And so much so that I've actually attended two of Michael's incredible conferences over the past year, one of which is on this exact topic that we are going to be discussing today, generational wealth. So I just learned a lot from that conference, and I just felt so inspired after leaving each of his conferences. And it's just very incredible to surround yourself with people who have achieved what you are striving to achieve one day, or to be around other attendees who are there for the same purpose as you. They are on the same journey as you. They want to learn, and they either want to be the one to initiate or to learn how to prolong that generational wealth building for their families. So it's a very empowering experience. And if you guys have a chance, I will share with you the next generational wealth conference that comes up, and you guys can sign up to attend as well. It's based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And so I know today it'll be a little bit of a challenge to really capture, the conference and all the empowerment and all that inspiration in our session. But we just hope to at least introduce the topic to you on generational wealth, and to get you started thinking and hopefully acting on it sooner rather than later. And I can't think of a better person to be a guest on this topic than Michael. So thank you so much for joining us today, Michael. We are so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Jen and Lana. I'm honored to be here. I've enjoyed getting to know you ladies very much. Super happy to be in a deal together with you, and excited to continue walking the journey together.
Thank you so much, Michael. And so before we get started, I just want to share a little bit about today's agenda. I do want to put some time into hearing Michael's story so that you can get some context on what Michael's all about. And then we'll also cover a few key questions on the topic of generational wealth. And oops, sorry. Whoopsies, I scrolled too fast. So Lana and I will go through these questions and a few others that may pop up along the way, and then we can open up the floor for your questions at the end as well. So before we get started, Michael, can you please share with our audience more about yourself? For example, what did you do before becoming a full-time real estate investor?
Sure. Well, where do you start and stop? So I had a construction company when I was young, in my early 20s, but I had such a desire to know God that I felt like I was underutilizing my time on earth to be in business and trying to make money. Even though that wasn't my primary focus, I loved doing quality work for good people. But I bought into this lie that if the most noble thing you can do with your life is give it in a ministry context, go to Africa, feed the poor people, all of those type of things. So I was in business, but I was like, man, I shouldn't be here. I should be serving the Lord in one of these other more traditional ministry contexts. And that was just from growing up in the church. Nobody ever said that, but you never see them put a business leader on stage and say, hey, this person's taking a risk, opening a new location, bringing on more employees, providing for more families, let's pray for them. It was always, hey, this is the missionary going to India. Let's pray and give them some of our money. So that was kind of held up as the highest ideal. And so I bought into some of that. So I was in business for a couple of years, then finally felt like the Lord was like, hey, you can be done with this and go into ministry. So did ministry for about 7 years full time, traveled all over the world, 20 plus countries, just an amazing time. Wouldn't trade it for anything. And as I kept, maturing as a person and growing as a person, I realized it's a trap and a lie to think that one person's calling is greater or lesser than someone else's or my own. So it's real easy to see someone, serve in the ministry or successful in business or have a big platform or whatever and feel like, oh, that's what I should be doing, and discount your own journey and your own walk. So that's not healthy. And I kind of grew through that. And once I did, I realized, wow, the most noble thing I can do is find out who God created me to be and then have the courage to pursue that and fulfill that. And so, once I discovered that, just kind of reconnected with how he's wired me to be in business. And so felt like he was leading me out of the ministry back into business. So this was about 9 years ago. So I moved back from New Zealand. That's where I was at the time. Came to Lancaster, Pennsylvania to get to know a young lady a little bit more. We got married a few months later, my awesome wife, Kristen, and started buying real estate. I was flat broke coming off the mission field, negative net worth. And she had saved $25,000 by living at home, going, not having a lot of the stuff she could have had. And while we were still renting a place, we used her $25,000 to buy our first rental. And I just knew I needed to get in the game. I'd read all the books and it was like, you know what, books, they can take you so far, but if you don't pull the trigger, make an investment, get off, write the check, you're never going to get ahead. You're never going to start learning. And so we did that, and it went up a lot faster than I expected. I feel like my ministry time, and even before that, was a lot of internal preparation that then allowed for a quick external growth. So, within, sorry, got my fire back here and just heard it pop and spray stuff on my floor.
It's okay, you're safe.
Yeah.
We'll let you know.
Yeah. If I go on fire, just
okay, we'll let you know.
So, within 3 years, we'd, built $1 million net worth and had about 85,000 a year in investment income, about 55 units. And just from, creatively problem solving and working with partners, and it was amazing. That was my goal of financial freedom. So I left my job. I thought I was going to kick back, have more time with family, travel, all that kind of thing. And that was fine for about a week. And I realized, you know what, I have not been created to go through the rest of life on my easy chair. So while that financial freedom point was a good motivator, it was pretty empty when we got there. So my wife and I, a lot of time praying and talking together, what should we do? And felt like absolutely love what I'm doing, but it would be so much more fulfilling to do it in partnership with other people, help others on their journey, build relationships, lifelong friendships through investing together, create a community. And so that was about 6 years ago, and that's been our focus ever since. So the deals that we do now, instead of her and I owning everything, we structure them so others can be partners with us. We do the education events, which are amazing. Have a mentoring group that is, probably my favorite thing that I do. Just really get to know people and help them transition from one level to another.
Very good. Thank you so much, Michael. I remember
Yeah.
Kristen saying that you have a lot of energy and that you're never tired. So I guess, that would make sense why retirement was kind of boring for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was not all it was cracked up to be.
Yeah. But so what would you say is the key factor that contributed to your ability to achieve the financial freedom in such a short amount of time? Was it like a specific real estate investing strategy, or was it really just a partnership, or which aspect of that?
Yeah. So I kind of live in two worlds at the same time. So there's there's a spiritual world that we can acknowledge and work with, or we can ignore and pretend like, reality is only 3 dimensions. So what contributed to my success? Number one, I had about 10 years of not much on the outside, but digging deep on the inside. And I feel like who you've grown into on the inside is going to be what determines what can healthily happen on the outside. Now, people can forego growth on the inside and just work really hard and build something externally that looks like success. But we've been around those people. They feel empty inside. They feel like they're always going to lose something. And so my perspective is it's most healthy to build inside first, and then you have the character and the foundation to support the external growth without it feeling overwhelming or imposter syndrome or all that kind of silly stuff. So that was a huge one. I'd done massive internal growing for 10 years. So that was huge. And then on the outside, the deal that really kind of changed it for us was when Kristen got pregnant. She wanted to stay at home when she had her baby. So I was looking for a deal that was large enough to support her, part-time income. So we didn't have to take a hit financially. We had 2 single-family houses at the time. So we ended up finding this deal. It's a longer story. It's in one of the books I'm in. But the condensed version is we bought this 10-unit building with hard money and refinanced it within 2 months with a traditional bank. And when it went for the appraisal, it appraised for like $150,000 more than we bought it for.
That's amazing.
So they paid off all the hard money. They gave us a $75,000 line of credit. But the thing that unlocked in my mind was, oh my word, I don't have to be limited by the fact that we don't really have much money. I used hard money to begin with. The bank took out the hard money lender, upon appraisal. So, you've heard of the Burr concept, and I believe in that. My only addition to that would be there's a lot more creative ways to do things than just use some money, buy a property, renovate it, refinance it, rent it, however the thing goes. So, there's about 7 or 8 different ways that I've done what I call infinite returns, where you can control properties without any of your money in it. And so that was massive. That with that 10 unit, in less than 2 years, we'd bought 50 more apartments because the limits had come off of, boy, I'm limited by my capital. So, putting together, an internal foundation and, some of those external strategies were really powerful.
Interesting. And so to get the 150,000 greater appraisal, did you guys do some renovation? Is that what you did to the apartment and then reappraise it, or because of the market?
Did nothing. No,
Wow.
there's a longer story with it because we had this other property under contract from the same seller that fell through because their attorney acted without integrity. And once the family knew that this property got taken away from us because the lawyer thought he could get a couple more thousand from the next person, that's not who they were. And so they had their last property. They were liquidating their whole portfolio. This was their last property of about 30. It was coming up on the end of the year. They wanted to settle it by the end of the year. We made them a cash offer. So it was kind of a perfect storm of all those things where they accepted a cash offer, and with a very under market purchase.
That's incredible. So sometimes luck comes into play as well.
Yeah.
Preparation, luck. Yeah. All right. Well, that's great. Thank you so much for sharing about your background. Sorry, Lana, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I really like how you touched upon the fact that the world really opened up for you once you realize that you're not limited by the capital you have. And like you mentioned, there are a lot of people out there who fear going into real estate because they think, well, that's a rich man's business. That's not me. I don't have a lot of money. I don't know how to get started. And so can you talk or expand on that a little bit more about how once you realize this eye-opening realization that you're not limited by how much capital you have?
Yeah, so I always knew that, like most things, there's a surface level appearance of what things are. And, it's true for people as well as man-made structures and businesses and industries and things like that. That typically, once you get to know something at a deeper level, under the surface, it's not always what it appears to be on the top. So what it appears in real estate on the top, you need a lot of money. It takes a long time. You save up for a down payment, you put your 20% down, then you go into, hibernation saving mode until you have your next down payment. And, that works. But I knew if I could just get into the game, I'd start to understand where are the places that we can kind of bend the rules, and not in an unethical way, but just in a mental construct way of these are limitations. So, using hard money was a big one. Using private loans for down payments was a big one. Using a credit line to buy a property, having a seller hold a second position and a bank come in with the first position. So, if you were willing to be educated, number one, and, take some action, take some risk, and the limitations that a lot of times we think are there are just limitations of our mind and not actually there.
No, I mean, I love hearing that because it really is just really mind over matter. You're right. A lot of times the limitations exist only in ourselves.
Yeah.
And the opportunities are out there. Just getting yourself educated, hearing from people, learning from people who've done it before ahead of you, like yourself, Michael. It's really just opening up a new world. So yeah, just kind of exploring outside of your own mental box, if you will.
For sure.
Yeah. We can probably interview Michael all day on all the investment strategies that he employed, because I know you have so much, knowledge and information to share. But yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the generational wealth topic. So can you just explain to our audience, because we do want to introduce this topic to everyone, what exactly is generational wealth and how is it different from personal wealth? Yeah.
One of the images I love, or stories I love, is a king was going around his kingdom, and they were building a new castle, right? And he's asking three different people, laying the bricks, what are you doing? The first guy says, well, I'm laying bricks. Asked the second guy, well, I'm building a wall. And the third one was like, I'm constructing a castle. And they were all doing the exact same thing, but with completely different perspectives. And so that's a decent way to kind of compare this generational wealth concept. First of all, people want to be taken care of, themselves, and either through, financial success, but that, I think we probably all know people that are wealthy, but they still feel like the world's going to crash in around them at any moment. So it's really more of an internal issue of, are you, for me, connected with your creator who's made promises that he's going to take care of us. So if you have yourself taken care of, it's like, okay, is there more to life? Well, yeah, your family. And so you start to raise your perspective, elevate your awareness. And so you can look at, one person's life, you can look at your family, and then you can start to see from a generational perspective. And, how you act, the decisions you make from a generational perspective are, of course, completely different than just, for your own personal needs, desires, wants.
That's great. And then, so what I guess motivated you to want to create this 2-day conference on this topic?
I mean, it's just something I think a lot about. And with that, before I started, I didn't know if other people would be interested in it or not. So it's easy to think sometimes that how we view the world is like unique, or, other people may not think the same way. But, I think a lot about my kids. Right now, they're young. And so I'm always thinking, how can I develop them into mature leaders and capable people that, beyond taking care of themselves, can make an impact in the world. So, read a couple books on it. One of them by Bill Bonner is a really great one called Family Fortunes. If anybody has not read that, that one is really great. And we'd done a couple events, and I just felt like, what, this is an event that needs to happen. And the response was just, I mean, I've had more excitement about that event than anything else that we've done. Because, I think that we have an innate desire. It's not always top of mind or conscious, but once people start talking about it and you realize, oh, wow, generational wealth would kind of be important if I care about, what I'm doing and the kids. So, the other piece that I love is there's principles that will work for moments in time, periods of time, short-lived seasons. Working, 90-hour weeks, you can get ahead, but how sustainable is that? Some of the unethical business practices that happen, yeah, you might make a few more bucks, but, is that really sustainable? So there's things that'll work short-term that may not work all the time, but the principles that work for generational wealth work always. They're solid, they're time tested, they span generations and work that whole time. So, if you're going to learn, those are the kind of things that I want to learn. It doesn't have to be the fastest results. I want the deepest impact, the longest lasting. There's other things that, our story, we kind of spiked pretty quick, but it's still, 50 units. For some people, that's big, but
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of things, it's not. So, looking at how to build with momentum so that it keeps compounding instead of you just build for a short period.
Right. And so, what are some of the guests that you? Who are some of the guests that you've had at your conference? And was 2020 this past year, was that the first one, or did you have one?
21. Yep. 2021 was the first generational wealth. Well, one of the ones that we've had a couple, and was perfect for this is a guy named Rabbi Daniel Lapin. So he takes ancient Jewish wisdom and shares it today. So, that culture is the wealthiest per capita of any on the planet. And his book, Thou Shalt Prosper, takes some of the principles that's allowed the Jewish people to hold that status despite all kinds of persecution, and teaches it to others. So, when you're learning from, the number one ethnic group that's been able to hold wealth, that's pretty powerful. Another one that just blew everybody's doors off was Mitzi Perdue. She is in her 80s, and she is so full of life and joy and energy. She was the daughter of the co-founder of Sheraton Hotels, so the heiress of Sheraton, and then she married Frank Perdue with Perdue Chicken, massive company, 25,000 employees plus. So 2 family dynasties that have passed down generational wealth already. So she carries a very unique perspective in that she's lived it, for her 80 years, and seen how multiple family dynasties have put things together. So she had some powerful principles to share. A couple others. Dave Zook was there, who's second generation wealthy, and talked about how that wealth passed, how they're taking it to another level, and how he's preparing his kids to do the same thing again. Couple other awesome speakers.
Yeah, I really enjoy all of them. Everybody has something different to add to it, and give me great ideas for how I can teach my kids about, how to preserve the wealth that we're working really hard right now to build for ourselves, for in the future generations. So definitely very good, impactful people. So I think my next question, you kind of touched on it a little bit already. And it was just essentially like, how do ordinary people who are not born into money, start creating generational wealth? And you kind of touch upon, some of the creative, like, financing ideas. Is there anything more you want to add to that, in terms of like, how do most people, like, how you would suggest that they start building the generational wealth?
To me, the 2 things that come to mind, may sound like a broken record, but number one, continue to grow who you are as a person. For whatever reason, a lot of people don't like the uncomfortableness of admitting where they have to grow, getting feedback, admitting when they're wrong, and kind of doing the hard work of acknowledging where they're at and then growing through those things. But the more you talk to wealthy people that think generationally, it's not just wealthy people, but the ones that think generationally, Mitzi, it's all about character. It's all about character and values. And if you pass money without values and character, the money is gone. People think it's money. Like, how can I amass a fortune that I can pass to the next generation? I wouldn't focus on that. I would focus on the character, because if you get the money and you pass that without the character, it's going to fall apart and actually be destructive. If you get the character, that's the best foundation to build the wealth. So for me, instead of focusing on the wealth, focus on the character. And then number 2, you have to get educated. You have to, the status quo produces the status quo. So if you're, working 9 to 5, going home, watching TV, going to bed, doing the same thing the next day, that's going to be, that's not the people on these calls that are listening to this, number one, but obviously that doesn't work. So education, books, conferences, events, mentoring groups, getting around people that expand your mind, couldn't be overstated. Each mentoring group that I've joined, and I've joined a number of them, I'm in 3 of them now, in addition to the one that I run. Each one has unlocked, it's not just like an incremental step. It's like a whole nother jump. And so trying to get there on your own is I think a little bit of a mistake. So getting around the right people, reading the right books, going to the right events, so that you can unlock and feel the inspiration that being around other people provides.
Right. And then how have you been, I guess, teaching your own kids on how to continue that? How have you been involving them?
Yeah, so my kids are 6, 4, and 1 right now. They're
Kind of tough to involve the 1-year-old, but
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely
or
the best,
yeah.
the best gifts. My greatest investments. So, again, with the character stuff, number one, I want them to feel unconditionally loved. So, some people feel like, hey, when they're little, they're not going to remember it. I'm going to work hard and, focus on my business and all that. I think that's a big mistake. I think that's when a lot of the emotional needs are met or not met in a child. And not that you can't, do things later, but there's an opportunity there to let the child know that they're valuable before they're doing anything. They're not contributing at all. They're not, even necessarily fun to be around as kids, as, like babies and toddlers and things.
Yeah, they're very
But
dependent on you. Yeah.
I feel like if you can show them they're valuable in those times, that sets the stage. Because I want my kids to be wealthy inside. I don't want them to feel empty or needy, or like they don't, they're not worth dad's attention, so I'm going to go get it somewhere else. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm working on right now. My girls that are 4 and 6, if you called them a princess today, they would say, no, I'm not a princess, I'm a queen.
Oh my gosh, I did call one of your girls a princess.
Did she say it?
Well, because she was wearing the bell costume.
Yeah.
I saw her and I was like, oh, you're a princess. And then your other daughter, Serena, she had a superhero cape. And I was like, oh, so you must be a superhero. And yeah, they kind of corrected me.
Did they correct you?
Kind of, yeah, I think they did. The Serena corrected me. She's like, I'm not a superhero. I'm a character from the movie Zorak. Is it?
The Lorax, I think, probably
Lorax. Sorry, Lorax. There
right now. Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, maybe it was an overstatement to say that they'll always correct, but I've heard them correct people because I haven't wanted them to think of themselves as princesses, princess, entitled. Yeah, you're royalty, but you have no responsibility, everything's about you. Where a queen is wealthy and sees that wealth as a foundation and empowerment to serve other people and to focus on other people. So those are the kind of concepts that I'm wanting them to be aware of. Business is about creating value for others. So if they can be others focused, see the needs in others and learn to meet those, that's the best recipe for success and wealth, in my opinion. So, we talk about other things. We play cash flow for kids, which they call the rat game. And, they've been to a lot of our properties and, try to get them to understand, mommy and daddy are, buying another, apartment complex, and we're providing housing for a lot of people, and they send us money and we give them places to live and fix them when they need to, and those kind of things. But right now, a lot of it is trying to build the wealth internally. That's
a really
my
good
biggest
point.
focus.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I mean, I've seen other people like take their kids to conferences for as like kind of another example of, after you kind of build that foundation, right? The really strong foundation.
For sure.
They know their value and that, that they should be contributing to the world with whatever, given gift that they have. Is to kind of educate them on the financial education aspect of things. And I've seen other people bring their young kids, maybe like starting at 11 or 12, to these various real estate conferences that I attend. And I think that's super helpful. And I hope to do that too for my kids when they're old enough as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And then as for me, I give them educational book to read. They have a rat race book for kids. It's a comic book. So I had my 8-year-old, when he was 8-year-old, I had him read that book, for example. And we also have the rat race game. I need to get the kids version. We only have the adult version, which is a little too complicated because there's balance sheets and income, P&L in there that they don't understand yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are some great ideas. Just like starting them early, like educating them about money, right? And about, not squandering it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And importantly, the value is more than just money, right? The value is serving other people, making your life whole, and
Yeah.
more than just having, money come in the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instilling those principles.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So
thank you. Oh, sorry, Lon, did you have a question?
no, go ahead.
Oh no. Yeah, I think those are all the questions that I have. You shared so much wisdom with us today. Really appreciate it, Michael. Does anyone, do you have any other last words of wisdom to share with us? And then we can invite anybody with any questions to unmute themselves and ask.
Sure. Yeah. And I appreciate being here. Appreciate getting to know you ladies. I've really enjoyed that. You all seem like, conservative minded, interested in serving the investors, recognizing that, this is a serious business when you accept investors' capital, and you need to take that seriously, be committed to projects, be committed to protecting that. So that's some of the, and then just, lack of ego. Some of the people in this business, are just all about themselves. And I haven't picked up that from you ladies at all. So that's a big reason why I wanted to partner with you, and glad that we got to, and look forward to doing more stuff with you. So
Thank you. Really appreciate that, Michael. Yeah, I think it kind of like all that kind of stems from like our background. I think we all have pretty common background, immigrant parents who work very, very, very hard, and we feel like it's a privilege to be here, to be in this space, to help other people, educate them and help them protect their wealth by just vetting deals really carefully for them. So definitely. Thank you so much for noticing that.
sure.
Yeah, I think we really value when, investors invest with us. Yes, it's important to preserve their capital, but I think what we value more is their trust, and people's trusts are earned. And I know it takes time, and you have to really appreciate and cultivate and continue to grow that trust and that relationship. So I think that's also one of the key fundamentals that we try to kind of strive to maintain.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's massive.
Michael. Yeah, Michael. So sorry, go ahead, Milana.
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. So I was going to say, how do our investors get in touch with you if they want to learn more about you and your conferences?
Yeah, so the next conference will be July 8th and 9th, 2022 in Lancaster. So July 8 and 9. Registration isn't open yet. Our website is investelevate.com. Facebook, I'm on Facebook under my name, Michael Manthei. Email is michael@investelevate.com. And anyone can reach out anytime. Happy to help.
All right, thank you. We'll include all the information in the replay email and in our YouTube channel for the video.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions, or we're good to let Michael go and enjoy his holiday?
Well, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you to all the guests for tuning in as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michael. Have a happy holiday with your family. And we look forward to seeing you in 2022.
Awesome. Okay. God bless.
Right.
Merry Christmas.
You. All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.